This is your boy Harrison Man back with a brand new episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. I thank everybody for listening. I'm happy to be back for another week. So if everybody can do me a favor, please, if this is your first time listening to the show, please subscribe to the Melanated Fathers TV YouTube page. Is where I have a lot of this content, where you can get a lot of the information. You can get a lot of my shows at the on the Melanated Fathers TV YouTube page. You can get a lot of my shows. You can get a lot of the information I post about history. I have a History Matters section on the Melanated Fathers TV YouTube page. So please, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my YouTube page. You can get that content. This is your first time tuning into the show. We do a few different things here. Melanated Convo podcast, just a real cool way of saying conversations about black things, right? About the things that we go through in our community, the things that we go through in politics, whatever we go through in our relationships with our kids, with our woman, with our man, whatever that may be. That's what we do in this show. We have conversations about that. Now we do that in a few ways. The first way we do that is by talking about black businesses. I think it's extremely important that we understand as far as we move forward in society as black folks, as melanated people, a lot of that has to do with us supporting one another, right? If you don't like police brutality, like I always say, if you don't like police brutality, if you don't like how we're treated as a people, if you don't like racism, if you don't like a lot of these things, a way to combat how we're treated is by unifying family, and a part of that unification is supporting black businesses. If you know somebody who's black, who sells something, try to support them, family. Try to reach out to them. When you support them, share their information on social media. Like, do what you can to get their message out there. And in my opinion, that's like a revolutionary act in itself. You know what I mean? People want to do symbolistic shit to get things done in our community, and that's fine, but ultimately we can do a lot of these things ourselves, family. You know what I mean? So I don't mind if you vote. I don't mind if you think putting a new white man in office is going to help us or progress us or whatever the case may be. That's your belief system, cool. But at the end of the day, there are things we can do with each other to advance our cause. That's why we talk about the black businesses. Also on the show, we talk about news stories, different things going on in the community, different things that I find to be intriguing, different things with black folks that I think we need to know about or need to talk about, rather, you know what I mean? So I'll bring a lot of those things to the forefront. In every show, we have a topic. Right? Every show we have a topic. A lot of my platform is based around my experience with being a father, having 5 children, you know what I mean? So I try my best to use my experiences and the things that I've learned, the things that I've done wrong, to kind of imbue wisdom on younger dudes or just men in general, right? So a lot of my topics are based around relationships. A lot of my topics are based around what to do with your kids, how we need to parent our kids, different things that go on with our children. This is important, y'all. Like, we need to be cognizant of how we're raising our kids and what we're exposing them to, especially with all this shit going on. There's a lot of things going on in the country, and sometimes the question is, how do you address these things inside of your house? Like, are you having conversations about race? Are you having conversations about politics? Are you having conversations about relationships and respect and love and all these things they're going to need once they leave your household? You know what I mean? So it's important that we take a look at, you know, the intricate part of our relationships with each other, just to come up with the best way possible to move forward. You feel me? So let's get it moving, man. I'm excited. Let's go. Get this mic out of my face a little bit. All right, so let's get everything going, family. So for the businesses, first thing we're going to talk about are the black businesses. These are 2 businesses that I've spoke about before, but let me make that sound a little better. Mic check. Okay, that sounds good. These are businesses that I've spoke about before, but I think it's extremely important that we sometimes, you know, I'm going to repeat certain businesses just to kind of get it in your head, just so if you ever need this good or this service, you'll know where to go to get it. You feel me? So first black business of the day, a website called It's a Black Thing. It's a Black Thing on this website, and that's It's a Black Thing, just how it sounds. On this website, there are several different things you can get from the website. They have books here, there's clothing, there is HBCU products, there's puzzles, there's a health and beauty section. It's almost like an online store for products and gifts for black folks, right? So again, it's a blackthing.com for Black History Month. They're doing 15% off anything that you purchase with the discount code BLK15. That's the discount code BLK15. And again, it's a blackthang.com. Like I told y'all, I'm not going to recommend a place to you that I don't use myself. So this is actually somewhere that I've purchased things from, and I received my merchandise in a timely manner. So I would definitely recommend you guys check them out as well. So again, it's 15% off of whatever you purchase, and the code again is BLK15, and on the website there's everything, family. There's artwork, there's books, there's different figures in Black history. You can get different cards and things like that celebrate Black history. There is jigsaw puzzles, a health and beauty section, holidays and events, home decor, matching gift sets. There's a Negro League baseball section where I got like a really nice Negro League baseball shirt from. So it's a lot of good things about our community on the website. You feel me? So if somebody's birthday is coming up, or if you know, any holidays coming up where you want to buy somebody something, these are the type of Black businesses that we should support. I try to introduce you guys to all type of Black businesses, but this type of website has normal things that we use every day. Sometimes it's important to find people that's Black that sell the normal things that we use every day. So on here, like I said, if it's somebody's birthday or something, you can get, you know, stationary items, matching gift sets, like I said, home decor, jigsaw puzzles, fashion and accessories, figurines and statues, Christmas decorations. So a lot of different things on this website, family. If you have never been to the website before, please go to itsablackthang.com. Get that 15% off on your first purchase. Go there today. Now, the next business, which when I started doing this, for some reason I didn't even think about my family. I was just, you know, trying to find businesses that I was aware of, find businesses in my community, just people doing good business that everybody should know about, right? But the other business I want to talk about is my family's business, Thompson Rose Chapel Funeral Home. This is a funeral home here in the Sacramento area where it can take care of all your funeral home needs. So this is cremation, this is traditional services, memorial services, gravesite services. So we offer a lot of different packages at the funeral home. We have a pre-need service. So if you know someone who maybe on their last days, so to speak, you can set up what's called a pre-need, where you can basically establish what type of funeral, what type of service you want to have beforehand, and begin paying on it as well, right? Just understanding in our community is something that we don't like talking about a lot, but all too often we deal with death, or we deal with these instances, and we don't have the finances to take care of it, or we didn't properly prepare for when, you know, a loved one is going to pass away. You know what I mean? So it's extremely important that we not, you know, keep death on your mind or anything, but just understand the importance of planning for these type of things. Understand the importance of having life insurance. Many people in our community don't have life insurance. You know what I mean? One of the big things at the funeral home, not only or are we trying our best to serve families and do what's right by the community, but also educate people a little bit on burial insurance and how all of these things work. And there's a great staff at Thompson Rose Chapel that does all of these things for you. So again, if you have a family member that's close to that time, if you have something that's happened within the last couple days and you don't know where to go, a family home business right here in the Sacramento area, Black-owned business. So again, you can give a phone call, and there's different arrangements that can be made. The funeral directors there are extremely helpful and diligent. If you go to the website, which is thompsonrosechapel.com, not only can you see a lot of the things that we offer, but also, like, there's a lot of resources on the website, right? So if you have recently lost a loved one, and you need to get a better understanding of the grieving process, or if you lost a loved one and don't know how to legally move forward, like who gets what, all these different things, if you go to the website, there's a lot of good resources just to give you information on these type of things. Like if you're a veteran or you're someone in your family is a veteran and you're not sure how like the veteran benefits work, go to the website and get a little information about how that goes. And of course, you can always call at 916-455-3038. That's 916-455-3038 for all your funeral needs, family. Again, that's Thompson Rose Chapel here in the Sacramento area. Now, let's get to the news stories, family. I'm excited. Let's get this thing going, man. All right, first news story of the day. Several months back, I talked about a young man named Quawan Charles. Now, Quawan Charles is a young black man who basically, just a long story short, because I'm going to read the article here, just to give you guys context about what I'm talking about. But this is a young black man who basically went to a white friend's house. So a white friend and his mother came to get him from his home. Ultimately, the young man ended up dead. The circumstances surrounding his death have been really fishy. They say he drowned, but it was like 2 feet of water. The abrasions on his body wasn't matching up. The white mother who went to the home to get him, she's seen real fishy how she answered questions, how they've been kind of handling her with kid gloves, which hasn't been a good thing. You know what I mean? And I'm reading this story today because basically the mother in the white family was saying this young black man, he was doing hallucinogens and he was doing all these different drugs, which led to him actually hitting his head or falling or drowning or something like that, right? But if you take a look in this article that I seen here, they had an independent toxicology report done, and this is what they found. Let's take a look here. So, Quawan Charles had traces of alcohol and marijuana in his system when he was found dead in a Louisiana sugarcane field in November. Now, according to toxicology report recently released by attorneys representing the black teen's family, but no hallucinogens were detected in Charles' bloodstream. It's a revelation that may debunk theories that the 15-year-old, I'm sorry, I thought he was a little older. The young man was actually 15, that the 15-year-old boy was high on mushrooms when he reportedly walked away from a friend's home just days before his body was discovered in a shallow Louisiana marsh with his face mutilated. Now, Janet Irvin, who is a white woman, and her 17-year-old son was with Charles and friends. Now, and they were one of the people who last seen him alive, basically. Now, for weeks, family members have pressured authorities to arrest the woman, arguing that she knows more about Charles' disappearance from her trailer home than she reported. When questioned by private investigators, Irvin and her inner circle put forth the narrative that Charles got high on hallucinogens and wandered off on his own. Now, stop it right there. See, here's the thing, family. So they are releasing these new reports stating that he was high on weed and alcohol. So it was no hallucinogens in his system. Now, at that point, to me, this white woman, she's lying, right? She should be arrested. There should be some type of legalities coming her way based on this, right? So let me keep on reading, because again, it's important to note that this white woman and her family is saying this young man wandered off into the rubble and he was on hallucinogens. Well, this is proving that he wasn't high on nothing. Well, he was smoking weed and alcohol, but that's not gonna make you hallucinate and walk into a damn pond and kill yourself. You know what I mean? And it's just fucked up that we have to go through this type of behavior. And I hate to make things about race, because I understand that, sometimes the law doesn't favor any of us, but we get the short end of the stick too much of the time. And unfortunately, in this country, white women, and it's just my opinion, family, white women are never seen as the predator. They're always seen as the victim until some real shit happen, and they have to be disproven. But in a lot of cases, I mean, just looking at our society, a white woman can say we did anything, they can say anything, and law enforcement seem like they'll go with it. You know what I mean? I don't think it would be the same thing if we had a black mother who went to pick up a white kid, a white 15-year-old boy, and this 15-year-old boy ends up missing. Because this black kid, he went to a trailer park, right? So he basically went to a little white neighborhood with his white friend and the white mother. He ends up dead. He's 15. Whatever adult is around at that point should be held accountable. There's no way I'm gonna let my son, because an important part of the story too is he didn't tell his parents where he was going, which that's kind of on him. Like his father, he didn't tell his father where he was going. The little boy dad should have knew where he was. That's something that we have to understand. But at the same time, if I allow a woman to take my 15-year-old kid and my 15-year-old kid ends up dead, if he wasn't hit by a car or some dramatic shit happen where we can see it, then she should be held liable, especially when they have stories that are kind of conflicting with one another. You know what I mean? So let me continue reading this here. I want y'all to, okay, let me see here. Okay, so this emphatically proves that they were lying in an attempt to cover up what happened to Quawan. Now, this is based on the statements that were made by the attorneys that the family actually hired. Now, according to the report, Charles had a blood alcohol concentration of 0.14 grams per 100 milliliters in his cavity blood, well below the legal threshold intoxication for adults, which is 0.8 milliliters. The analysis also detected the presence of 4.7 nanograms of delta-9 THC, the main psychoactive component in marijuana. So the kid had weed in his system, he had some alcohol in his system, but that wouldn't make him hallucinate to the point where he want to fucking kill himself. You know what I mean? So again, we're looking at a system where things never seem to match up. You know what I mean? Like we need to get to a point in this country where things are handled fairly, and this is definitely not fair. You know what I mean? Especially for this little boy's family, because the mom is saying, you know, the family is distraught. They don't know what to do. You got to get private investigators and do all of this shit when law should actually be working for everybody. You know what I mean? Now, just to rehash what actually happened in the story, Charles's parents reported him missing October 30th when he vanished from his father's Baldwin, Louisiana home. He was at Irvin's Laurelville trailer home about 25 miles away. The woman picked Charles up from his father's house that afternoon without his parents' knowledge or consent. Charles attended school with Irvin's 17-year-old son. That's how they knew each other. Now, another important part of this, which to me makes this woman seem that much more guilty, the white woman, Irvin, her last name is Irvin, who's 37 years old, admitted to one of the private investigators that she did not report Charles was missing until November 2nd. So understand this. A kid is missing from your home. A kid, you go pick up a 15, 16-year-old kid from his house or whatever the case may be. This kid ends up missing. This kid this kid walks away from your house and ends up missing, and you don't report this until 2 days later, basically. See, this isn't the type of leeway that everybody is afforded in this country, family. That's basically why I'm making this point. And this is one of our babies. All of us should be outraged when stuff like this happens, because to me, unchecked violence or unchecked incidents begets more of these same type of incidents. Like what stops another young white or another white mother from doing something like this, or just feeling like a black body ain't worth shit? You know what I mean? I think that be the main point of these kind of stories to me, man. They showing that we're not really worth much in this society. You know what I mean? Everybody should be treated the same way. Let a little white girl come up missing, right? They shut down the streets. They everywhere. You know what I mean? They treat it like it's an alarm going off, and you have to act. For some reason, black bodies aren't treated the same, man, and that's not cool. That we all need to be talking about that. We all need to be calling that shit out. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna keep updating y'all on this story. I don't know if eventually they're gonna arrest this woman, but there's no way a 15-year-old boy ends up dead, right, under these circumstances, and nobody goes to jail for it. So she basically says that he left her trailer park in a fit. Like the son, who was 17, is basically saying that this black kid, hear this goddamn story. He's saying that the black kid, they was at his house, they were asleep or something. The black kid woke up, like his eyes were still closed, but he woke up and he's swinging at everybody. He's swinging, right? He's swinging, and the white kid is like, "Whoa, what's going on, man? What's wrong with you?" And he says, "I'm gonna kill myself." And he walks outside, right? Keeping in mind that supposedly the young man drowned in like 2 feet of water. How do you drown in 2 feet of water? And then his face was mutilated, like it was eaten by a dog or eaten by some type of animal that was out there in the field, whatever the case may be. But it's fishy behavior, and the law needs to work for everybody. That's the bottom line. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna keep updating y'all on this story. Hopefully she goes to jail. Hopefully because the biggest thing is the family getting some type of some type of finality, like getting closure. That's the word I'm looking for. The family getting some type of closure. You know what I mean? Because I have a 13-year-old son. I have a 19-year-old son. A fit to be a 20-year-old son. I got an 18-year-old son. So I need the law to work for everybody. You know what I mean? Because we be on some shit where we want to use the authorities and use police and use the common practices in this country of how you address something like this happening, right? But at times I'm like, damn, should we just get on some vigilante shit and get to doing this ourselves? Because the law, that's the point, family. The law don't work for us, man. Not enough. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna keep updating you on that story. We'll see how that ends up. You feel me? Now, next story I want to talk about, and I think this is like 2 weeks ago. I think this may be a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. But this was important to me to speak about, right? So what city is this in? Hold on one second. All right, so in Florida, I'm sure all of you guys have seen the video already. It's a officer at a school who takes this black 16-year-old girl, or how old is she? 16-year-old girl, and slams her to the ground. The girl's unconscious, right? Supposedly, he was breaking up a fight, but as the mother put it, there was no fight. The girl was just arguing with another black girl, or another girl. I don't know what race the young lady she was arguing with, but basically, he slams this young girl to the ground. You know what I mean? Like slams her face to the ground. She's unconscious. You know what I mean? So let me read a little bit about this story, then we'll get into my perspective on it. Now, Ethan Fournier is the deputy's name. Ethan Fournier is a deputy and school resource officer in Osceola. How is it spelled? Osceola County. I may be saying that a little wrong. Forgive me, family. Osceola County, who was caught on video slamming 16-year-old Taylor Bracy to the ground at Liberty High School in Kissimmee, Florida, and this was last month. Bracy was hospitalized and is suffering from insomnia, memory loss, and headaches after the body slam, her family lawyer, Benjamin Crump, said. Now, we're going to get into Benjamin Crump in a second here, too. Now, the viral video shows Bracy lose consciousness after being slammed onto the concrete by Fournier, who then handcuffed her behind her back while he was motionless on the ground, while she was motionless on the ground. They said that wrong. And this is some of the most heartbreaking shit I've ever seen on video. Once I post this, I will post under this video the actual video of him doing this. And y'all got to see it, man, because again, sometimes we don't want to make everything about race, right? Like, we understand that awful things happen to everybody in this country, right? Some of us, you know, based on economics, based on certain things, you have to deal with certain things in this country. But how we're treated by the police, nobody's going to convince me anything different. How we're treated by the police, how we're treated by law, how black bodies, and this is just my opinion, family, it's almost like everybody is dehumanized to us. Nobody sees us as actual people. There's no fucking way. Me being a cop, me being an authority figure, there's no fucking way that I can slam a 16-year-old girl like that on the ground. Not at all. Not at all. There's no way I can do that. There's no way mentally I would allow myself to be able to get to that point. So what are we looking at here? Because again, you may see a one-off of a cop slamming somebody Caucasian on the ground here or there, but I've never seen this type of thing happen to a teenage white girl and not be and hell not break loose. So y'all gotta explain this to me, man, because at this point, think about the type of precedence this is setting. When this cop, Ethan Fournier, he got suspended on paid leave. Like, he didn't even get fired. You know what I mean? He didn't even get fired. He's on paid leave right now. And then we have to appreciate technology, because without this shit being on camera, we wouldn't have known nothing. We probably wouldn't have known nothing happened if these kids didn't film it. You know what I mean? So let me continue reading a little more about this, family. Okay, authorities said Fournier was breaking up a fight. The 33-year-old Fournier, a St. Cloud, Florida resident, is being investigated by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, according to Osceola. I think I'm saying the name right. Osceola County Sheriff's Department. Excuse me if I'm saying the name wrong, family, for everybody who live there. Now, the mother was saying, because they tried to paint the narrative that cop was breaking up a fight. Like the girl was fighting somebody. He had to grab her. Even if she was fighting somebody, it's no goddamn way he should have slammed her on the ground like that, right? But the mother is clarifying it, saying, my daughter is having headaches, blurry vision. Her mother, Jamisha Bracy, said at a press conference on January 29th, she's having trouble remembering things, having a hard time sleeping. She's very traumatized at the moment. The family said they're concerned she may have permanent damage. You goddamn right she may have permanent damage. Again, I'm gonna post a video of the cop slamming the girl when I'm done airing my show today. But family, we need to. What can we do as black folks when we see stuff like this, right? Right? So you can always take a political stance. Like you want legislation to be passed, you want different things to happen. So if a cop does this, he can be reprimanded for it, right? And of course that should happen. That should happen. He should be reprimanded for it. There should be legislation put in place that adds a race component to this. You know what I mean? Because nobody should get treated this way. But I have to say, family, nobody in America gets brutalized the way we do. Nobody. Who? What other race of people gets brutalized in America, right? So from a political standpoint, you can say, okay, cool, boom. We can get legislation passed. We can become more cops ourselves, right? We can become more cops. We can become more prosecutors. We can ingratiate ourselves into this system. Righteous black people can ingratiate ourselves into this system so then we can be more effective, right? So we can look at all these political ways to go about doing it. But at the end of the day, family, we need to begin to understand the importance of us loving each other. Like us getting back to loving each other and being down for each other and create an infrastructure. So when something like this happened, we'll be able to handle shit ourselves. And I don't mean violence, because everybody be hitting me, talking to you, riling people up, and it's about violence. I'm not speaking about us going out and shooting a cop or us going out, but we got to do something to defend ourselves. We got to do something to defend our babies. You know what I mean? Because the father in this instance, you know, he hasn't been saying much, but would anybody blame the father for finding this dude and doing what he got to do? Like, should any kid in America get treated this way? You see what I'm saying? Get slammed on your goddamn face like that. That don't make no sense, family. That don't make no sense. And all of us as black folks, we need to, I know at times we get almost desensitized to how we're treated in this country. And I understand that. But we need to be upset about this type of shit and then move into action. Like, you can't, it's one thing to tweet out or to go on social media and express your discomfort for some of the things that you see happening to us. That's one thing you can do. But on the other hand, like, what are you going to do? Like, actually, as far as helping your community, as far as going into your community and enlightening people, empowering people, what are you going to do to help out in that regard, right? Because unity is necessary, family. We need to figure out a way to unify with each other so we can have our own meetings. We can have our own organizations where we can address some of these things in an aggressive manner. Because right now, I mean, there is an NAACP out there. There are other organizations that fight for the rights of black people, but it just don't seem like it's happening fast enough. You know what I mean? I don't know who's aggressive enough to really approach some of these situations. You know what I mean? Keeping in mind that there's a lot of activists around the country who spend a lot of time and energy into trying to make things better for us. But all of us need to get involved in some way or another. You know what I mean? And also, so when a cop does something like this to us, right? So let's just say he does lose his job. That's not enough. And we understand that him getting 25 to life, him getting sentenced to a long-ass prison term, that's not likely. Like, that necessarily hasn't happened for us in this country. But what about if one of these cops do something like this? How about you take his pension? How about you make him pay? How about if there's a $6-7 million lawsuit? How about that shit come out of his pocket? How about we sue the cop personally? Instead of suing the police department, we sue the cop personally. So I'm not sure of the logistics about how this shit work, but something got to change. You see what I'm saying? Because he shouldn't be able to get away with treating a young child like that. See? Because we live in a country where, in my opinion, we live in a country where a lot of Caucasian people don't even see us as like humans to a degree. You know what I mean? We live in an environment where we try to act like everything is so coalesced and we're so together, but we're not together, family. And that's just the long and short of it. We don't really live around each other like that. In large numbers, there ain't a whole bunch of white folks living around black people. For the most part, you see what I'm saying? So we're still real separate in this society. We're still real separated. And I say that to say that can make for a situation where you have a white cop enter into an environment where maybe a lot of the schools or a lot of the students are black, or a lot of the students are ethnic, and you don't know how to deal with them because you don't live around them. You see what I'm saying? Because you're not around them a lot. Because look, here's just the truth of the matter too, how our energy is, right? If you've never really been around us, if you've never really been around black people like that, and you get around us at times, a lot of us, our energy will make you think something negative is about to happen. Like our energy sometimes gets so rambunctious. We African, like we different than other people. You may think, God damn, they finna shoot, they finna fight, and we just talking loud, having fun, and you can interpret that for something different. You know what I mean? I think that's why we have a lot of these cops and people outside of our community that are scared of us, simply because they don't know us, simply because they're going off what they see on BET, they're going off what they see on, as far as athletes and the shit they see about us on television, but they don't necessarily live around us. They haven't taken the opportunity to humanize someone black just by being around them, talking to them. Because I know for goddamn sure he wouldn't slam a white girl on the ground like that, because in his eyes, that could be his daughter. You see what I'm saying? And another thing, it's the unfortunate truth, but in this country, if you a 14, 15-year-old black kid, you're seen as an adult for the most part. You know what I mean? You're being treated like an adult by authority figures. You're being treated by an adult by people around you. You know what I mean? And that's just the long and short of it, family. I remember that. Being 13, 14 years old, being in my neighborhood, the cops come up and they messing with my brother and his friends, but they talking to all of us like we ain't shit. They talking to me like I'm a grown man. You see what I'm saying? So we need to, there needs to be some type of, if I'm not sure what type of racialized training that a cop has, as far as how can we figure out if they're racially biased or not. You know what I mean? And to be honest, it seems like it will be a difficult thing to do, because they can just lie. They can be a good liar. Maybe they can put together some kind of test to find out. And sometimes that can be, what I would say, that can be, like I just mentioned, figuring out their relationship to black culture, right? So if, like, and this is my opinion, if you have a white cop or a white person of authority and their whole life they've only lived around white people, right? This isn't to knock them or anything, but we need to understand like the psychology behind it, right? So if they're in an environment where all they've been around is white people, and now for work, for money, or for their livelihood, they got to go and be around black people just in that intense environment, meaning it's not a cool environment where it's not a hierarchy, where it's authority, because once you add the authority piece, now it's going to be contention. When in most cases, they need to just be around us at the store, really, or at a function or somewhere where you can sit and talk and be comfortable. Then you can kind of get to know how people are, and a lot of this shit won't happen. You know what I mean? But to me, it's like, I'm not even sure if America is interested in doing this. We have so, this is just my opinion, we have so many people in middle America that some of them I would say is racist. Yes, they have a problem with us based on the color of our skin. Some of them is just based on a complete lack of knowledge. And sometimes when you don't have knowledge about something, it can make you scared. You know what I mean? Because again, think about it. Middle America, they're not getting no big doses of black people. So they're looking at T.I. on TV. They're looking at the NFL players. They're looking at us in a particular light. Looking at the rappers who create this unnecessary image of misogyny and all these negative attributes. We love hip hop and we can contextualize it and understand why it's beneficial to our community, but people outside, they're not looking at all those nuances. You know what I mean? So it's important that we begin to have a conversation, y'all, about race. In this country, for some strange reason, they tell us don't talk about race and politics. I think that's the things we need to be talking about the most, so we can get an understanding. If you don't like me, if I don't like you, we should be able to talk about it and come with some kind of resolution that don't resolve in either one of us being hurt, and we don't have to like each other, but there should always be a respect factor. You know what I mean? And there's never really a respect factor when it comes to our community. That's what I think. You know what I mean? So I think this cop was put on his administrative leave, right? And again, like a lot of the police shootings that I've seen, in my opinion, it sets a bad precedence when this can happen to one of us and nobody does nothing, right? When this can happen to one of us and the cop paid administrative leave for, now this young woman, if you see her getting slammed and her mom was saying she has memory loss, insomnia, headaches, all these things, she could have permanent damage. She can have permanent damage. A grown man, because again, see how this world works? See how the system is structured? If a 33-year-old man on the street would have dipped a kid on their head like that, he going to jail, right? But it's almost like you have immunity from all of this shit if you're a police officer, right? So that for me, that would make any cop like, I understand this blue wall that's surrounding me. I can pretty much do whatever I want to do, and they gonna bail me out of this shit. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna keep y'all updated on what happens. Again, the cop's name, Ethan Fournier is the cop's name. Ethan Fournier. And the bottom line is, because we always have to be contextual and understand that, you know, all cops aren't bad. That's definitely not something that you can say with clarity and certainty, right? Like, all cops aren't bad. But what do you call someone that's a part of like a racist institution? Or what do you call someone that's a part of a unhealthy institution, right? If you're a part of a unhealthy institution and you know it's unhealthy, there's some blame there for you as well, right? Like, you're an adult. I understand how this works, where you are a cop and you guys are fighting together. You guys are on the front line together. You guys are going through a lot of traumatic things together or whatever. That don't mean you get to mistreat citizens. You see what I'm saying? And especially some of these white cops, I think, like I said, they need to get some type of racialized training based on, and it should be based on their upbringing. If you've never been around black people, I don't expect you to be around us in a hostile incident or a hostile situation and conduct yourself with love and care and empathy. You know what I mean? So I'll keep y'all updated on this story, man. I'm not hopeful that anything productive will come out of this. Now, the family has hired Benjamin Crump. I've came on this platform before and spoke negatively about Benjamin Crump because it looks to me as if he is just attempting to settle all of these cases opposed to actually putting police officers in jail. I know he has a hard job, and I watched the interview with the brother, and he seems like a good guy. You know what I mean? He can just be up against the 8 ball being a black man in this system trying to help our people out. But something has to change. Like I was saying about the other situation, something has to change. Maybe they can, you know what I mean, figure out a way that if we sue one of these cops, the money comes directly from him. He has to be scared of what the repercussions could be. And it's funny how this country has a great way of giving anybody repercussions. If you black and you in the neighborhood, you know the cops come, your ass going to jail. It's going to be a repercussion for you out there selling dope. It's going to be something that happens to you for you shooting somebody, right? The law is coming. They made that extremely clear to us. When we see the law, we know some shit about to happen. You see what I'm saying? Other races of people aren't necessarily conditioned to view police that way, and I think that's almost purposefully. You know what I mean? So I'm going to keep everybody updated on this. Hopefully Benjamin Crump does something and not just do a settlement thing. Maybe he can push for some type of legislation or push for some type of jail time. Like, I don't know what happens in these cases where we see something that seems so obvious to us, right? It seems so obvious of the neglect and the wrongdoing, but lawyers don't seem to be able to get it done. And again, I know he's up against I know he's up against a horrible system, being a black man in this system, going against these judges and these prosecutors who don't like us as much. And I salute the brother for attempting to do the work of our people. But at the end of the day, some of these people got to get put to jail. Like, we need some examples of why a cop shouldn't hurt another black person. We don't have enough examples of what can happen to you if you harm us. And again, somebody online was trying to argue with me about this, but the policing in America, and I'll say it again, the police system in America, the policing that we use in America was a derivative of the slave patrols. It was an offshoot of the actual slave patrolling that we used to have here in this country. The first police didn't necessarily arrest people. They were just like men in the community that was volunteering just to kind of, somebody is out late and they're drinking, make sure he gets home okay. You know what I mean? Policing wasn't necessarily a bad thing. It was just to kind of keep people in line, and it wasn't a whole bunch of crimes and stuff going on, but it was more or less to keep people in line. And then the brutal part of it came when they had to be used as slave patrolling as well. You know what I mean? That's when they became violent, when it became some shit about us. You know what I mean? So I can't help but look at the historicity of it all and not think that some of that's still ingrained in the police forces that we have today. And the question is, what are we going to do about it? You know what I mean? Like, do we tell our children, do we raise our kids to be men and women who love black people, and we tell them to be cops? Right? Do we encourage our family members to be cops so we can get like somewhat of a fair treatment? Because I do think if you went to our neighborhoods and 89-90% of the people patrolling the neighborhood were guys from the neighborhood, you would get a much better result. Granted, all skin folk ain't kinfolk, so there could be one-offs where you get someone black from the neighborhood but feels he has to be more brutal and feel he has to be more ruthless just to kind of show off to his white counterparts. That can happen, but in general, familiarity needs to be created in a lot of these instances, right? So it pissed me off to see this man treat our babies like this. And like I said about the other story, what if this young girl's father decided to take this shit into his own hands? Could we blame him? Could we be mad at him? Could we be outraged or any of that type of shit? I don't want violence on nobody, but sometimes violence begets violence. Like, we're asked to be so calm, and we're asked to use tact when we getting shitted on. We're asked to use tact when we're getting killed and we're getting fighting back is a natural reaction to get hit in your face. You know what I mean? So I'll keep reporting on this story, man. Hopefully this cop goes to jail. Hopefully he gets fired. I'm not sure either one will happen, family. And that's just a sad reality of living in this country. All right, last news story today. Let's keep this thing rolling, man. And this was kind of funny to me. It's cruel, but it's funny. You know what I mean? That we live in a society that will even allow some shit like this. So there's a school in Utah that has everyone talking about them today because they offered. Now they just reneged on it, but understand this: they offered the parents to opt out of Black History Month. You heard me right. They offered the parents, if you don't want your what kind of shit is this? If you don't want your white baby hearing this black shit, sign here. You know what I mean? How the society we live in now, this is in Utah, like Mormon country, and it's, these are the environments where it's not a lot of black folks. But goddamn, man. All right, so let me read the story real quick. A Utah school has walked back its decision to offer parents the option to opt their children out of Black History Month instruction after facing backlash from the community. You think? Maria Montesero Academy in North Ogden initially sent parents an email on February 5th letting them know that they would have the option to opt their children out of the Black History Month lessons planned for the month. But following backlash, school director Micah Hirokawa told the Standard Examiner in an email on Saturday, February 6th, that parents would no longer have that option to do so. You think it's fucked up that people had to come out and protest this decision for them to walk it back. But man, look, hold on, let me finish reading this and I'll give my synopsis of it. We regret that after receiving request, an opt-out form was sent out of concerning activities planned during this month of celebration. Now, look at that wording, okay? I didn't see this before, but look how he worded this. We regret that after receiving requests, so these white parents, you know how involved with the school and shit they was up there like, principal, I pay money, this is a private school, no black shit this month, okay? So they said after receiving requests, an opt-out form was sent out concerning activities planned during the month. What type of so how warped does your mind have to be for, if this is a Caucasian parent, if this is an Asian parent, if this is whatever nationality you are, whatever race you are, rather, why would you not want your kids to know about Black history? Like, can somebody give me an answer? Why would you not Because white history is forced down our goddamn throat, right? We're forced to learn white history, right? There's no White History Month because every day is White History Month. Every day we learn about white history. That's all our society is about. The money we look at, the statues around the country, it's white, 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 white. So how dare you take this 28-day time period and even offer the option, even entertain the idea? Because shit like this, we all need to realize, when shit like this happens, when people present something and they take it back based on backlash, they still believe the shit they presented. They just can't go forward with it because how it's going to look. Perception is a motherfucker in this country. So they don't want to be perceived a certain way, so they take it back. But understand the mentality of a community who feels we don't even have to know about their struggle. This is in my opinion, this is the White Lives Matter crowd, family, right? This is the crowd who says, wait a minute, what you mean black? No, all lives matter. White, you know what I mean? They go here on us because a lot of, unfortunately, in my opinion, there are, in middle America, in different parts of this country, there are Caucasian people who just are extremely impartial to us because they've never had to be around us. Understand that, family. Most of us as black Americans, we've been forced to integrate ourselves in this society if there are certain things that we want. The schools we go to, the movie theaters we go to, sometimes a doctor that we choose. You want to see some nice shit, you got to go to a part of town that's all white. So we've been forced to be around these people. And in my opinion, that has helped us to a degree. So then you get to differentiate. Then you can say, okay, I've met good white people, I've met bad white people, right? Right? So when I see a white person in general, I'm not typically assuming they're going to do some nefarious shit, because I've seen a lot of them do good things and there's bad ones, but really it's just being around somebody you get to gain this comfortability. And it's sad that this school would even offer this. Hold on, let me continue reading this article so you guys can get a better understanding. Now, Hirakawa, this is the person in charge of the school, did not say how many parents had opted to remove their children from the lesson, and said the school will handle parental concerns on an individual basis in the future. He said the school will carry on with the Black History Month instruction as planned, and that the lessons will be based on state social study standards. In recognition of Black History Month, the school plans to incorporate the achievements of African Americans and their role in U.S. history into the school's social studies instructions. And now the guy says, we are excited to celebrate the rich content of Black history. Stop. All the goddamn pandering. No, you're not happy to present. No, you're not. You don't care about our history, or you wouldn't even fix your mouth to offer a form saying you don't have to learn about these niggas if you don't want. See, and this is another problem with this country, family. Again, a large part of this country, middle America, ain't really been around black people. They're not really forced to engage with us. They live in their small little enclaves where they never have to see us. Like I was saying in the last story, racism in this country, this is my opinion, a lot of it, family, a lot of the race disconnection is based on how we live. Meaning, and this is from what I see, right? And believe me, follow me. We don't live around each other. In large numbers, we don't live around each other. Go to unless you go to Atlanta. Now there's one-offs, Atlanta, Washington, D.C., some cities around the country. But in general, go to a nice-ass neighborhood in your city. I mean find the nicest neighborhood. You think it's a coincidence that it's damn near all white? Or it's 90-something% white? You see what I'm saying? This country crafted out exactly how we are to live with each other. Anytime in this country where there was a neighborhood that was all white, anytime we start moving in, they got to moving out. And the shit just kept happening. So they went further out and further out and further out. They don't want to be around us, family. They don't want to live around. If you don't want to live around nobody, you don't want to be around them. You know what I mean? So we got this integration shit that, in my opinion, didn't necessarily help us, where you got, just because I can go to the store with you as a white person, just because I can see you in the store, just because we can go to the movies together, none of this shit really is quantifiable. None of this means that we like each other. None of this shit means that we're okay with each other. One of the biggest signs of being okay with somebody is being able to sleep next door to them. Is being able to go to sleep knowing you're okay. You see what I'm saying? And I think a lot of, unfortunately, because this is unfortunate, right? Because I want this whole kumbaya thing, where as races we come together, nobody don't hate nobody. You know what I mean? I don't know if people are down for that though. And we, in my opinion, we are the most disenfranchised people in this country. And I'll be honest, I know a lot of revolutionary thinking black people. None of them hate white people. None of them, and I've been with these people, none of them will see somebody white and clutch their purse, or see somebody white and lock their door, or you know what I mean? And it's the funniest thing that we get treated as if we're the problem, when in actuality, like I was saying on a couple shows ago, shit, from what we had to go through, because when I see a white person, in actuality, I don't know what type of white you are. Like, you could be, yo grandfather's grandfather could have been a damn slave owner. You could have took on those same ideologies. I could see all y'all like y'all do us. I could see any one of y'all and think, okay, this is a goddamn slave driver. I can look at all y'all that way. We don't do that, though. You see what I'm saying? We, being African people, being loving people, we know how to look at people and separate things. But how dare you look at us like we the goddamn animals and we've been the victim in this country, family. We fuck each other over we fuck over each other. But as far as hurting people outside of our community, we don't do that at all. When's the last time you heard of a mass killing of 20 white people by a black vigilante? That shit's rare, and that shit really don't happen. We don't really conduct ourselves like that. So for somebody white to see you and clutch your purse, or see you and treat you in a manner like you're a criminal, you got to think about, why is that happening? Why has this country decided to make us the poster child for criminality, the poster child for dysfunction, right? It's a reason, family, and we have to be aware of all this shit. So a school in Utah saying that they don't want to allow their kids to, or they sent out a petition where you can opt out of Black History Month, makes sense in America. You know what I mean? Excuse me. And what if a black parent, wrote a letter home saying, look, I don't want to hear about that white shit. Excuse me. I don't want my son to learn nothing about white history. They'd be like, all right, well, he can't come back because shit, that's all we got. You know what I mean? So that's horrible. I try to make light of it, but we need to understand the importance of these things. It is Black History Month, shortest month of the year, whatever. I mean, there's some negative connotations you can take from it, but use this month as an opportunity to learn about Black history. If you're the kind of melanated person who ain't really been too keen on history, if you're the kind of melanated person who don't know too much about different figures in our history, I implore you to do that. Find out as much as you can about our history, because it's been hidden from us. And in my opinion, you can gain confidence from it. In my opinion, that can help you get to a point where you love Black people, where you look at all Black people like we're one. You know what I mean? Regardless of how much money you make, regardless of what field of study you're in, regardless of all these things, we're still one. And in my opinion, learning about Black history is not just cool, and it's a confidence builder, because it's good to know that people who came before you did some extraordinary shit. You know what I mean? And a lot of them did extraordinary things at times in history where it was extremely difficult for us. So we have to be cognizant of that and salute those brothers and sisters. You know what I mean? So let's take the positive out of it. Let's use this slap in the face month to a degree. Let's use it to educate ourselves. Let's use it to educate our children. You know what I mean? Watch some documentaries like Hidden Colors and The 13th, and I think it's, or 13, and you know what I mean? There's several documentaries and books about our history that is intriguing. You know what I mean? And I think all of us can benefit from that. That's why I'm such a big proponent of history. If you go to my YouTube page, Melanated Fathers TV on YouTube, you should be subscribed by now. Melanated Fathers TV on YouTube. If you go to the YouTube page, you'll basically see that I have a History Matters section, because me, being a Black man, one of the biggest proponents of my evolution as a man, and this is just me, was learning our history. Not just being curious in learning our family's history, not just being curious in learning the history of our families, but also just figuring out how we got to where we are. Like, you hear about slavery and you hear about all of these negative things that happen to us. But family, I promise you, it's nothing like reading it for yourself. It's nothing like reading through the details on your own terms. You know what I mean? It gives you a great grasp of how far we have to go. It gives you a great understanding of what you're looking at when you look at politics now, when you look at how we're treated politically, when you look at how we're treated by the police even. If you look through history, you'll see, unfortunately, not a lot of shit has changed. You know what I mean? There's been small gains here or there, but ultimately, a lot of the same shit we go through, we that we've been going through, we still go through now. So use this month as a way to, if you're an adult, you should dig into parts of Black history you never thought about. And if you have kids, you have to infuse this type of history into your kids' lives. Now, me personally, I try to teach my children about our history all throughout the month, like all throughout the year, rather. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I kind of do it for a living a little bit, so I'm always talking about the different people, places, and things from our history. But family, use this month. Maybe you can just use this month as a way to start having a conversation with your family about different people in history, different times in history. It's great. It's we should all know about where we come from, family. We should all know about what we've been through in this country. It's because, again, going back to the Black History Month shit from this school, most schools don't teach us the details about the things we've been through. They teach you about Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, a couple other figures, but it's hundreds upon hundreds of people from our history who've done some immaculate things. Do yourself a service and look some of those things up. You feel me? But a school in Utah is basically saying, well, they took it back now, but they were offering their parents the option to opt out of Black History Month. That's what the story was about. And it's unfortunate, but that's the country we live in, family. You feel me? Now, it for the news stories. Let's get to the topic for the family. Now, the topic, and this is for all my young Black men out there. You feel me? This is for all my young Black men out there. Black women, I guess, too. Young Black women, I guess, too. But I see this happening a lot to our Black men, right? Because being African American, being Black, being melanated, whatever you want to call yourself, right? A lot of us come from environments, and in these environments, there's a lot of things going on, right? If it's a poverty-stricken environment or an environment where economics aren't the best, then you're going to have a lot of drug dealing. There'll be gangs. There will be people making money in all these nefarious ways. There'll be pimping. There'll be hoeing. There'll be different type of robberies going down. Just street activity will be a part of your community, right? Right? If you Black, you live in the inner city, this is like a reality for a lot of us, right? So here's the thing. We need to, and this is what you should talk to your young men about. You got a young man that's just starting high school, that's in that's in junior high school, even before those ages, right? We need to make sure that our young men, our young women, don't go through identity crisis, right? Where they're in a position where they feel like because they're in an environment where everything I was just mentioned is going on, that they now have to participate in any of this activity, right? We need to rethink what's cool in our community, family. We need to rethink what's trendy. You know what I mean? And of course, we got hip hop and we got different type of influences in our community that push money, that push a certain lifestyle. As a parent, those things you have to manage as well as far as talking to your kids about them. But all too often, this is why I want to talk about this. All too often, I see young men who are kind of like caught in the middle, meaning they don't necessarily have it in them to go the street route full throttle. Meaning if you a street dude and you are attempting to be successful, and this is just real shit, if you're attempting to make money and be successful, that comes with a lot of stuff. That at times that comes with violence, at times that comes with jealousy, that comes with a lot of different things that you have to manage, which is why it's not necessarily the job of choice. Right now, granted, what happens in our community sometimes, you have young men who aren't that successful in these endeavors, then you don't necessarily have the same problems, but you do. Because if you're not as successful at it, then you're kind of just looked at like an idiot. You're like a $300 drug dealer where you just flipping your little work, but you ain't really getting nowhere with it because you don't want to get a job. You see what I'm saying? So we need to be clear with all of our young men, like, it's okay to go get a job, young man. It's okay to, that could be considered cool. It's okay to go get a job. It's okay to work for somebody. Now, I understand wanting to be an entrepreneur because I know a lot of young men say, you know, I don't want to work for nobody. I don't want to work for this white man or whatever. Okay, cool. What kind of business plan you got then? Because it ain't easy to be a business owner. You can say you don't want to work for somebody, but working for yourself is pretty fucking hard too. So what you gonna do? You know what I mean? We can't allow our children to fantasize about how life's supposed to go. Like if you got a young man who got one foot in the street, one foot out, you got to sit down and have a conversation with him. Like you got to have some tough love with him so he can understand that's not the route to go. Like you don't, and I know too many young men who aren't necessarily about that life, but they feel the environment calls for it. They feel because they live in this environment, they have to participate in what goes on in a particular way. And that's just wrong, family. You could be a cool square. Like, you don't have to be involved with no street shit to be considered a cool dude. Like, you don't got to do that. The hip hop that we listen to, all of these different influences, you don't have to be a participant in any of these things to enjoy it, because white kids listen to hip hop more than our kids do. But you know the difference? The white kids don't live in impoverished environments that make you feel like I can do that too. You know what I mean? For the white kids, it's more like they're the goddamn zoo. You know what I mean? They just looking behind the cage like, wow. They're just happy to see what goes on behind the goddamn curtain. They don't want to participate, not necessarily. You know what I mean? Too many of our young men feel like they have to participate in the street shit. And we got way too many young men who ain't respectful. We got way too many young men that's wearing their pants down to their goddamn knees. We got way too many young men that don't know how to hold a conversation with you. You see what I'm saying? So when this is the case, whose fault is this? Right? Whose fault is this? Us. We got to begin to look at ourselves. Like, what type of information are we putting into our children's head when they're small kids? What type of structure are we setting up? What type of relationship do I have with the mother or the father, right? All of these things are pertinent. You have to look at all these things, right? We can't just blame the system because, you know, we have been dealt a bad hand by this system, and that's for sure, and that continues to happen. And, of course, looking at politics and legislation and all these different things, yeah, that can benefit us. But at the end of the day, we can help out a lot too, just by how we conduct ourselves, by understanding. See, it's not about learning about racism and injustice and then making excuses about why you're not successful or why you haven't done X, Y, Z. That's not the case. I try to use it as an empowerment tool to understand what we've been through. And once you understand what we've been through, you can understand the importance of how we need to move forward. You know what I mean? We need to understand the importance of how we need to move forward. And as parents, the kids ain't going to get this shit if we don't get it. You feel me? That's the point of me talking about news stories. I want you guys to be informed about what's going on. But a part of me wants you to get pissed off. A part of me wants you to get upset, because anger leads to action. Now, I'm not talking no stupid shit like get mad and go hurt somebody. No, but get mad and say, okay, how can I help with this situation? The things in this country that's happening to my people, how can I be of service to the people who look like me? The first way you can be of service to all of us, black man, black woman, right? The first thing you can do for all of us is raise your damn kids. You want to help society? Yeah, you can go out and start an organization. You can go out and be a part of an organization. You can go out and volunteer. You can go out and pick up trash. You can all of these things are great. But you know the first thing you can do that can help us all out? Raise your goddamn kids. Make sure he brushes hair. Make sure he's groomed. Make sure he says please. Make sure he says thank you, right? And this is when kids are extremely small. That's why Melanated Fathers of America, my platform, my organization, I stress the fact of men, specifically young men, starting our families the right way. If you're 16, 17, 18, 19, you shouldn't have a baby yet. You shouldn't have a baby if you ain't lived life, if you haven't experienced things in life, if you haven't traveled a little bit, if you haven't done some things, if you haven't set yourself up, not completely financially, but on the way of setting yourself up financially, you shouldn't have kids, man. We are behind the 8 ball already. If we have a kid who is unruly, if we have a kid who is out in public doing shit the wrong way, there is a system who is going to attack his ass. We not like other races of people, family. You can't let your kid run around the grocery store. Have you been in a grocery store or somewhere where white parents with their kids? Whole different mentality. The kid runs free. Do you know why they're letting the kid run free? They're not so stern on the kid. Why would they be? They own everything. A cop ain't gonna hurt that kid. Ain't nobody gonna hurt that kid. They don't live in fear the way we do. And that's just the reality of it. So no, you gotta understand that you are not like any other race of people in this country. You have a specific set of circumstances that put you in the position you're in now, right? Sometime, as black folks, we do make it worse with our behavior and how we conduct ourselves with each other. We can never take that off the table, but you have to understand what we've been through so you can start to make better decisions. So your kids, because in my city, 3, 4, 5 months ago, it was a whole bunch of shooting going on. It was a whole bunch of killing going on, right? So I'm looking at these young men kill each other. Whose fault is it that an 18-year-old kid got a gun and he willing to shoot that motherfucker? Whose fault is it? Is it the government's fault? What, they put guns in our community? They put our fathers in jail? War on drugs, trickle down to us. This is true, right? I never take the system off the hook. However, how many of us today are trying our best to have 2-parent homes? Are trying our best to create a structured environment for our kids, right? We can talk about both. I could talk about the fact that the system fucked us over, and after that conversation say, okay, what we gonna do though, right? Because we can't be just sitting ducks and victims. I see a lot of parents, and I'm watching you with your child, and the interaction I'm watching don't necessarily have anything to do with the system. The fact that you're not reading up on stuff, the fact that you didn't take the whole situation more serious as far as why you had the kid, right? So that's why history and learning history is important. Young women, if I had girls, I teach my boys this anyway, but if I had girls, I would teach her about the welfare system. I would teach her about all of these things that was instituted in our community so she can understand that that's not a tool to be abused. You know what I mean? That's not a tool for you to use to get a leg up on. No. All that type of shit is supposed to be temporary if you want to keep it real, you know what I mean? But in our community, we've allowed women to a degree to use that as a bargaining tool against a man. Like, if you don't do what I want, I'm going to get child support. If you don't do what I want, I'm going to get on welfare, all these different things. So these systems at times get used against us. You know what I mean? So how do we prevent that as a people? And again, the topic of the show today, the conversation that we're having, I went over the news stories, went over the black businesses. The topic that we're having is helping our young men know who they are, right? Helping our young men understand what's not for you. A lot of times we moving through life trying to help people discover what they should be doing, right? And that's a good thing. Like, finding your purpose is great. But sometimes we need to focus on what you shouldn't be doing too. You see what I'm saying? Again, being a young black man in America, living in an urban community, there is a lot of pressures in this environment. In my opinion, if there's 2-parent home, 2 stable parents, that can give you the ammunition and the tool belt needed to navigate this environment a little more comfortably, right? But for all my young men out there, or young women who got 1 parent, right, in this same environment, sometimes a young dude, if the mom ain't doing well, he feel like he got to be the man of the house, which is a horrible ideology, just so you know, right? A 12-year-old is not the fucking man of the house. He's a 12-year-old. He needs to be treated as such, because sometimes in our community that backfires, meaning you can get the 12-year-old, 13-year-old to feel like, okay, I have to be more responsible because I'm the man of the house, so he'll begin doing responsible things, right? Which can help you. But also, he may feel like, okay, I got to go out and help with the money too, and you 15, 14, if they ain't hiring you, but right outside of your doorstep, these dudes are selling drugs and getting paid. These dudes are selling dope, and you seeing all the money, all the cars, all the materialistic shit they're gaining from it. You may think you have to help out or get involved. Why? Because you're the man of the house. See? That's why we need to let our kids be kids. This society treats our 13 and 14-year-olds like grown men anyway. We don't need to do that. Yeah, your teenager needs to be responsible. And as he gradually gets older, the level of responsibility should be raised, but he's not the fucking man of your house. Why? There should be a man of the house. Right? Like, women, don't be afraid to say you want a man in your house. Not need, but don't be afraid to say you want a man in your house. Don't be afraid to say, I want somebody here to help me raise my kids. You know what I mean? I was making a joke about it a couple weeks ago on the show, how the older people used to tell you if they seen a girl or a young lady with a kid and they didn't have a dad, they would tell them, you need to find a daddy for that baby. You know what I mean? And that's funny and a little, but I get the point now, right? That kid is going to need male guidance. You can teach a kid a lot of shit, but how to be a man isn't one of them. You know what I mean? So as young people, we need to let our kids know, like, we need more prosecutors, y'all. We need more teachers. We need more black, fair cops. We do. If there's going to be cops in the system, some of them should be black. You know what I mean? Black cops should be actually patrolling our neighborhoods. We need prosecutors. We need lawyers. We need technicians. We need all these type of shit. We need to make these type of things cool in our kids' eyes. Now, this isn't all parents. There's a lot of parents out there doing their thing, even single moms who got sons that go to college every day of the week. But in my opinion, not enough of us. Not enough of us. Not enough of us understand the importance of an education. Not enough of us understand the importance of just building something, right? Because maybe you got a kid that isn't proficient in schoolwork or doesn't have a good memory, so he's not a good test taker and all that shit, whatever the case may be. But so what? There still need to be some type of path that's mapped out for him. And I don't like when I see young men feel like they have to take the street route, especially when that's not even in their personality. That's not even in their makeup. They're just using the fact that they want to be lazy as an excuse just to sit on their ass and try to sell dope or whatever. And that shouldn't be accepted in our community at all, right? Because again, if we're going to call out racism, if we're going to call out all of the injustices that we face, we need to. That's a part of our struggle. That's a part of our history. But we also need to call out all the nigga shit that we willfully participate in. You know what I mean? Like our level of materialism, our level of understanding of how the system works, our level of the need to be entertained. You see what I'm saying? Like we got a lot of work to do, and it ain't all white folks' fault. So we need to understand the front line of this change, in my opinion. That's why I started Melanated Fathers of America. The front line of this change to me is us as parents, right? And it starts soon as they come out of the womb. 1, 2 years old. You're teaching them stuff. You're getting them ready for a world that don't necessarily see them the way you do. You see what I'm saying? Hence why your kids can't run around the grocery store. You ain't got to be whooping their ass for nothing and all that kind of shit. But black children need structure. Because if you don't give them structure, the system will. Whether the school district or the juvenile system or one of these other fractions of law will give your kid the kind of discipline you didn't if you don't see that to be important. You see what I'm saying? So I appreciate everybody tuning in today, family. Look, if you care about your people, because we get a lot of shit online where people are posting things on Facebook, people are expressing their outrage, all that shit's cool. If you really are outraged about everything you see going on, if you a black parent, like I was just telling y'all about, if you a black parent, raise your children the right way. Make intellect cool in your household. Make reading cool. If your son likes science, if you got a kid who don't like basketball, who don't like don't force all that shit on your children. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes because we're so athletic, because we're so gifted athletically, sometimes we feel like we gotta be in sports. So you go to an event where it's a whole bunch of black kids and you ask the black kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? 60% of them are going to say something involving sports or rapping. Horrible. Horrible. We need to stop that shit today. You have a little kid, talk to him about being a damn technician. Talk to him about being a firefighter. Talk to him about being a prosecutor. Talk to him about being a lawyer. Like, let them shoot for the stars. You know what I mean? Let them shoot as high as they can, but limiting ourselves to entertaining people ain't going to get it. You know what I mean? So that's been another episode, man. This has been another episode, man, of the Melanated Convo podcast. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Please go to the YouTube page, family. If you're watching this video, please like the video, share the video. Go to my YouTube page, which is Melanated Fathers TV on YouTube. The website, melanatedfathers.com, is still being rebuilt. I had somebody hack my site and got all into my shit, man. So I got a whole bunch of stuff I got to fix, but I'm going to keep pushing it for y'all. Not just for Black History Month, but every other week on the Melanated Fathers TV YouTube page, we release a video called History Matters, where I dig deep into a particular time in history, a particular person in history. So that's something you can do too. If you don't want to read a whole bunch of stuff, go to Melanated Fathers TV on YouTube. You can show your kids the History Matters video. After you watch the video, you guys can have a discussion about it. Again, man, this is your boy Harrison. Thank you for tuning in to another show. I'm out.